Harper had never been to her aunt's countryside house before, and as the car wound down the narrow, overgrown lane, a creeping unease settled over her chest. The house rose before them like a relic from another era, its once bright white paint now dulled by years of neglect, windows staring blankly like eyes long closed. Leo, her 12-year-old best friend and partner in mischief, leaned forward in the passenger seat, squinting at the sagging porch. "This place is massive," he whispered, or tinged with fear. Harper forced a laugh, trying to shake the chill curling in her stomach. When they finally stepped inside, the air was cold and musty, filled with the smell of aged wood and dust. Each floorboard groaned under their weight, and shadows pooled unnaturally in the corners of the vast entryway. As they carried boxes to the living room, Harper thought she heard faint thumps from upstairs, soft and irregular, like footsteps pacing a floor they hadn't yet dared to explore. She blamed the sound on the settling house and the wind rattling the windows, though a tiny, stubborn part of her whispered otherwise. Night fell quickly, swallowing the house in darkness, and Harper and Leo tried to settle in. They unpacked a few more items, but the earlier sense of unease returned with a vengeance. A distant thumping, deliberate and slow, echoed from somewhere above them, then shifted to the far side of the hallway. Harper froze, every nerve screaming that something was not right. "It's just the house," she murmured, though her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. Leo didn't respond, his wide brown eyes darted along the walls, flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. Every shadow seemed to stretch unnaturally, pooling into shapes that barely held form but suggested something human, or inhuman, lingering just beyond perception. When Harper gathered courage to step into the hall, the noise followed, circling as if it were tracing their movements, echoing with an almost sentient precision. No matter where they turned or what door they opened, the hall remained empty, yet the sound never ceased. They began to realize it wasn't a creaking floorboard or the wind, it was something inside the house, watching, waiting, calculating. The next morning, Harper examined the walls and noticed faint scuff marks running along the baseboards, smudged as though someone, or something, had dragged its fingers across the surfaces in a deliberate, pacing motion. Leo found muddy footprints, trailing from the front door to the living room, yet no rain had fallen, and no one had entered. Anxiety settled deeper in Harper's chest. That night, the pacing resumed, slower now, heavier, deliberate in a way that made her stomach twist. She tried to steel herself, checking closets, under tables, and behind furniture. Every time she thought she caught movement, it vanished instantly, leaving only shadows and the lingering sense of being followed. Mirrors reflected fleeting silhouettes behind them, always too quick to identify, always impossible to pin down. Harper's heartbeat became almost deafening as she realized that the house was alive in some way, responding tot-hem, circling them, and refusing to allow peace even in sleep. Harper and Leo decided to investigate the attic, a dusty, forgotten space filled with cobwebs and forgotten furniture. Dust motes danced in the light of their flashlights as they stepped carefully across the warped floorboards. On a small table, Harper found a diary belonging to her aunt. Its pages were torn and jagged, covered with frantic handwriting. "They walk at night. I hear them. Circling, whispering, waiting. The walls listen, the shadows move, and I cannot leave." Harper swallowed hard, a lump forming in her throat. Leo pointed to the floorboards above them as a groan echoed softly. Harper looked up and realized the sound wasn't from inside the attic, it was from the roof. Someone, or something, was pacing the house, perfectly synchronized with the noises they had been hearing inside. The notion made their skin crawl, and both friends exchanged fearful glances. Their curiosity was now tinged with terror. What had lived here before them, and what had learned to move with the house as if it belonged to it? Night descended faster than expected, thick fog rolling across the grounds outside. Inside, Harper could feel the footsteps stalking them, moving in rhythm with their own movements. Harper woke to the sound of slow, deliberate pacing outside her bedroom window. She crept to the window, heart hammering, but the yard below was empty, the mist swirling over the grass like ghostly fingers. Leo joined her silently, his flashlight catching dust and shadows as he scanned the house. The sound followed them relentlessly, circling from room to room, echoing down halls, climbing stairs they hadn't dared to walk, always just behind or just ahead, impossible to pinpoint. Harper realized with a sickening certainty that this presence wasn't random. It knew where they were, it tracked them, it was waiting for a misstep. Every creak, every distant shuffle became unbearable, a constant whisper of dread in their ears, and the house felt alive in the most malevolent way imaginable. By the following night, Harper and Leo armed themselves with flashlights and whatever tools they could find, determined to face whatever stalked them. The air felt thick and heavy, each breath a struggle as they crept through the living room, their footsteps tentative against the wooden floor. Shadows twisted unnaturally along the walls, forming shapes too tall, too distorted, to be human. The pacing above and around them ceased suddenly, replaced by suffocating silence. Then came a whisper, Harper's name spoken softly from above. Not Leo's voice, not a mistake, someone, or something, had acknowledged them. Both froze, terror rooting them in place. The house felt like it was holding its breath. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, and in the dim flashlight glow, the shadows stretched toward them as though eager to embrace or consume them. Fear coiled tightly in their stomachs, and Harper realized that confronting the house meant acknowledging it as a predator that could strike at any second. Panic surged as Harper grabbed Leo's hand, and they bolted for the front door. The floorboards beneath their sneakers groaned, shadows clawing at their heels. Outside, the yard was drenched in mist, cold and wet against their skin, but the sound of footsteps circled relentlessly just beyond the threshold, echoing in the woods and over the lawn. They didn't stop, running blindly down the winding lane until the house became a dark silhouette behind them. Both gasped for breath, hearts hammering, but when Harper dared to glance back, the upper windows flickered with movement. Something inside remained, pacing in perfect rhythm with the echoes of the past, waiting for them, or for someone else, to return. A shiver ran down Harper's spine as she realized that some places never let go of what enters them, and some footsteps never cease, circling, always circling, at night.